Hello, everybody. It's 11:38 a.m. Central Time on the 29th of June, 2023. It's Thursday here in the United States, and I hope you're doing well. Here doing an earthquake update. It's been about 7 days since I've actually done a video, and I've been making posts, of course, if you guys have been keeping track of my community page and my Twitter page, but laying low since the Canadian News and the Reuters news organization decided to pile on and basically say things that I didn't say and smear me across international news. I took a little time off just to get my head around that, of course. And let me apologize if you hear fans running in the background. Guys, it's going to be 102 degrees Fahrenheit here today without heat index. And I've got fans running and everything. Man, that's on top of the AC. We're not here to talk about the unpleasant nature of the heat. We're here to talk about seismic. And just so you guys know, I've had to make a slight change on Earthquake 3D. The Europeans changed their website, the EMSC, and we can't get a feed from the EMSC anymore. Gee, go figure, right? Gotta go to their app. Gotta download their app. Gotta go sign up for their service. Whatever, man. Okay, right. Go to their website. Gotta go to our website to go check. Sure, whatever, dude. So what I did was I added Australian's national agency, New Zealand's national agency, Russian's national agency, as well as Greece, Italy, and Mexico. All right, that's on top of the USGS. And Geophone Potsdam as well as Geoscience Australia. And that's where we're going to begin. The update is down here in Australia. We have a somewhat rare, larger earthquake in the upper 4 range, mid-range to upper 4, striking just east of Melbourne, down here in southeast Australia. But what you really will see is going back over the last day, 2 days, you'll see going back across Australia a day ago, 2 days ago, you started to move up to your northwest. Last week, we got an earthquake up here on the red arrow, followed by these 2 sets of 3s coming across the plate, marked in pink, a couple days ago on the, what is this? On the 26th, 3 days ago. And this one's on the 26th as well. So 3 days ago, movement across the center part of the plate, both sets of the craton, plural, and then now down to the east-southeast. This is following that course or trajectory we expect as the flow to go from the northwest down to the southeast. We should also expect down by Perth, up here by Exmouth, and maybe, and I'll just say maybe, it's not a forecast, but we'll watch out in the far northeast side for 3s as well. I don't even know if we need to issue a warning for 3s when you've got 3s already that have struck across the plate. Not that big of a deal, but the 4s and greater are. So where did it all come from? It came from the northwest, where you saw all this activity up to your north on the plate boundary. Plate boundary's been moving across New Zealand. Take a look at this 5.3, USGS bringing it at 4.5. If you go check the USGS site, you're going to notice something that's just odd. They're taking pretty much all the 5s down to 4s for the last 2 weeks at least. Like there was several days where there were no 5s. So like a full day where there are no 5s on the feed at all for the USGS. And when I turned on the Russian feed, I was extremely shocked to see that all the locations that the USGS was listing 4s at, the Russians were recording as 5s or greater. It's just very interesting. It's almost like our side is downplaying the earthquakes. We would never do that, though, I don't think. Sarcasm. Let's go up across over to the north by northwest Pacific, and you'll see a spread of the same sized earthquakes reported by the USGS. So the Russians laying out or not even bothering to report in on those in the last day. But you see deep earthquakes down below Japan from yesterday. This is off actually the coast of Korea and Russia and China. They all meet right here, and it's a deep earthquake. Deep down below, 442 kilometers deep, 5.8. Now, when there's a deep earthquake like this, we have to watch for a shallower, larger earthquake to strike around the area where the deep earthquake takes place. And in this case, look where it is. It's right on the back side of our red arrow, and look where that arrow points. Points over into China, which then goes across the Taklamakan Desert all the way over here to Afghanistan, North Pakistan. And let me get a USGS map open at this point so you can see the plate boundaries, the red lines between the plates. And these are, again, the plate boundaries. Watch for the flow to go across this area. This is the Indo-Australian plate, and it goes and breaks up to the north to the plates to Japan. We have a deep earthquake on the west side of Japan, like I said, right over here, right where all the borders meet between Korea, North Korea, and Russia and China. So, deep earthquake down below there means we have to watch Japan, of course, right next to it with the plate boundary, but we watch all the way across where the arrows point to the very northern tip of Afghanistan, Pakistan. You see it, India, right there, the red line. Okay, that's where we watch. So we have to watch 2 spots on this. One, directly next to the deep earthquake. That's a no-brainer, and I'll tell you where to watch in a second. Over to the west, we watch where all 3 sets of rings overlap. That puts us at Taklamakan Desert, to the south all the way to the border with India, and to the west all the way to, I guess that's Russia's. Hold on. Names have changed, right? Okay. How do you even pronounce that? Let's just say Tajikistan. It's going to try and name provinces there. Good luck, right? So Tajikistan is where we would watch for a potential large break to take place. 1 magnitude larger at both spots is where we have to what we have to watch for. So up to 6.8. 6.8 up to at Japan. 6.8 up to where all 3 sets of rings overlap here at Tajikistan. Now where in Japan? Same principle applies where all the rings overlap. That puts us off the northeast coast of Honshu, Japan, southeast of Hokkaido, the most famous earthquake zone on the planet, where the 9.0 earthquake struck back in 2011. But it will be most likely way less. It'll be 6.8 out off the coast. As we go back down across and just take a look at the greater area, we have a bunch of deep earthquake activity here at Fiji, raised high off the globe, or planet, whatever you want to call it. We watch next to the deep earthquakes for shallower, larger earthquakes. So this puts New Caledonia over to Solomon Islands in the middle of this big open area here between, see where this earthquake is over at Solomon Islands, and these earthquakes are over to the east, a big cluster at Fiji, and in between the two, the halfway point between the two, is the next spot to be hit. Standing wave principle. So we have 2 waves on either side. The new wave comes up in the middle in between. Standing wave. And that's where we watch. And what do we watch for? A magnitude larger. 1 magnitude larger than the deep earthquakes. So that puts us into the 6 range. 6 range coming back. We're going to come back with 6s after God knows how long without any. As we go over to the west, we have a big, huge open silent zone between Asia, where the 3 sets of quakes are. We're going to watch for our 6.8 up there at Afghanistan. And all the way back down here at this 5, in between the 2, we have Myanmar, Indonesia. Now, there's been some eruptive activity at Mount Krakatau here. I have not checked the Volcanic Ash Advisory Center in a long time. Let's go take a look. I haven't looked in days. That's a long time for me. Let's see. Oh, that's the most recent quakes. Of course, hold on 1 second. Let's go look at the VAAC. Where is it? I don't even know where it is on here. Volcanoes and earthquakes? That's not it? Man, I thought I had this bookmarked. I do have it bookmarked. I'm 100% I've got this thing bookmarked. Wow. I've opened it 1,000 times before, and now it's not opening at all. Maybe they moved it. That is possible. Maybe they moved it on the website. All right, hang tight with me, guys. We got to go check the volcanoes, but I don't know where they've moved it to. The VAAC. Latest, they did. They switched it around here. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to have to bookmark that. It says it's bookmarked. Okay. Whatever. Suwanisejima in Japan, South Japan. Popocatépetl in Mexico. I just need to see which ones are erupting. Oh, wait. Hold on. We have a 10,000-foot eye blast at Mount Mayon, where they were only having a few thousand-foot eye blast. They did the evacuations around this volcano like 3 weeks ago. in the worries that it was going to do a very large blast, 30, 40, 50,000 foot. And they didn't say how big. They just said they were worried for a big blast. And so here we are at 10,000 foot, or FL100. And that's bigger than where we were. So it's going up in size at Mount Mayon. It's not alert level yet, but if we get a huge blast there, I mean, you'll know it. Oh, look, it actually went up to 12,000. But still, I mean, we're talking like we would watch this one for 30, 40, 50,000 foot eye blast. Not saying it's going to happen. They said that they were going to watch for that. Also, Ubinus in Peru showed back up on the list several days ago. And Bagana over in Papua New Guinea, back on the list now. Nevado del Ruiz in Colombia. Ubinus again, just small eruptions at Ubinus, but it's the new one on the list. It's the one we don't normally see. So let's recap which ones are erupting. How about this? Nothing erupting up in the Northwest Pacific. Kamchatka, quiet. Mount Ebuko, not there. Chevaluche is not there. Okay, Kamchatka is quiet, volcanically speaking. We get down here and we only have Suwanee-Zajima. Right down here in South Japan. Where's Sakurajima? It normally puts off blast almost every day. Weird, right? Not on the list, even though it would put off ash clouds. So, I don't know. Suwanee-Zajima in South Japan. We can skip over the rest of the area across the Izu Ridge and get back down here to Philippines, where Mount Mayon is doing its thing, and they've evacuated the people there. We go over areas where we normally see a boatload of eruptive activity. So where's Ibu? Where's Dukono? They're all quiet. Luatolo, where is it? Where's Semeru and Carinci and Krakatau? It's nothing. Literally, right now, I could tell you there's no seismic activity across all of Sumatra, all of Java, and no volcanic. Worth mentioning. In the most active seismic zone on the planet. Are you kidding me? So what does it mean? Is it radio silence? Yes, it's radio silence. There's no way they could hide eruptive activity that's big, 20, 30, 40,000 foot eye blast. And there's no way they could hide large seismic, 6.0 plus, from private seismographs and other institutions around the world that might not be in on hiding earthquakes, if you even think that that could be done. I think that's possible. I think it's possible to hide earthquakes and generate false information and punk the spectros, and I think that's all possible. Electronically, to be done, hacking-wise. Okay, anyway. We're not getting into conspiracy on hiding or not reporting earthquakes. I'm just saying there's no quakes across here and no eruptive activity. That means we watch it for something big to take place. When it goes quiet for multiple days, we're looking at 2 days. No seismic, no eruptive. Building. What's building? The wave. The wave that's coming up from down below where the deep earthquakes are taking place. There's a very low frequency wave that's coming up from down below the plates. It's spreading out and dropping off the earthquakes along the way. It's the force that causes the earthquakes. It's an electrical wave. In the plates, though, electricity, very low frequency or greater, ultra low frequency, extremely low frequency, where the wave peaks are thousands of miles apart, and you can see the spacing on the quakes, tells the tale of a standing wave that spreads out through a tank. But the standing wave's huge, very low frequency, again, thousands of miles between, or ultra low frequency, thousands of miles between wave peaks. And I think where the peak comes up, that's where the earthquakes are striking. Well, not just I think. Where the peak comes up, the earthquakes are striking. And then the middle point is struck as the wave travels, and it strikes the next middle point between the previous sets of waves, like a standing wave. Why am I taking all the time to explain that to you? We're going to be seeing a big increase, seismically speaking, this week from where we were over the past several weeks, which was super low enough that I actually got on and told you that there's nothing going on. And which is, when do I make videos getting on telling you guys nothing's going on? It's like a weatherman getting on telling you nothing's going to happen. It's just odd. So, up to the north, we would also watch, like I said, at Japan, and over to the west. So this is 3 areas that are going to be hit this week. I don't think it's going to be one of the areas gets hit. I think all 3 areas are going to be struck by something significant. The deep earthquake spot next to Japan, the spread spot where it should spread to all the way over here at Afghanistan, at Tajikistan, And then the big open silent zone here. And that's just the far west Pacific going over to Asia. Then we're looking at 6.0 level activity striking between our current sets of earthquakes. So that puts us right here with 6s and right here at the middle of Papua New Guinea with another 6. So we're looking at a spread of 6s already. Australia's moving on a near 5.0 level. Goes back up to the northwest in Australia. It all points back to these deep earthquakes coming up from down below this, the Indo-Australian plate. Deep earthquakes are coming up from below, all the way up at Japan, down to Indo-Australia. And then spreading out from there, we're getting a big amount of activity spreading out in all directions, following the plate boundaries. That's what's happening. So we're back on track. It looks like, seismically speaking, it looks like we're back on track. And now that I have multiple agencies, including the Russians, in on reporting, look, there's been a significant resistance, let's just put it that way, a resistance to me showing current earthquakes. Not the forecasting, I'm talking about people having a problem with me showing the current quakes. I don't know why, but people had a problem with it. Enough so that they started to freak out on me for it. Start to not report the quakes and cut the feeds and all kinds of stuff. And they did. They changed and cut feeds. Stopped reporting quakes. I've had to go to extreme measures to get multiple other countries' feeds on the screen here so that we can have the current earthquakes. If I turn them off, well, let me go show you what you will see if I turned off the other agencies. Earthquake.usgs.gov. Let me show you what they show for the last day. And then you'll understand why it's somewhat of a problem. What you're being shown on the U.S. sites versus here's 24 hours worth of quakes, for instance. Okay? So they show 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 across the West Pacific. And if you count up here in Alaska, we'll just leave that out. 13 across the West Pacific last day. That's what they say. Get the last day on here. Here's the last day. Want to count? From up here all the way down? It's more than 13. So, you're not getting the full picture if you use the USGS site for 4.0 plus quakes internationally. That's a problem for me because I want to see what's going on internationally, seismically speaking. And the reason I want to see is so that I can know the areas that have been struck, because guess what? The wave travels and it strikes the areas in between the spots that were previously struck. So in other words, like the halfway point between these two quakes is going to get struck with a new quake. All the halfway points between all these quakes are going to be struck by new quakes which are larger than the current quakes. So, in other words, between this 4.5 and 4.8, we should get a new 5. Between this 4.5 and this 4.5, we should get a new 5. And then in the middle of all of this, in between the 5s, we should get our 6 that I'm looking for, the upper 6. Okay? That's why we need to know the earthquakes that are striking across plates over the course of days. That's why it's important to see 4.0 plus activity in other countries. And that's why when the USGS does not show you a 4.6... Here, let me hit refresh and just make sure on this. So, this is significant. There's a 4.6 to 4.8 earthquake that struck Southeast Australia. It's rare. It only happens a few times a year. That's not my take on it. It really only happens a few times a year. Here's the USGS site. This earthquake has been like hours old now, or so, somewhere in the hour range. I just hit refresh on the USGS site, and it's showing us international earthquakes, supposedly. Let's click on these to make sure that we have a 4.9 in Fiji, we have a 4.6 in Fiji, we have a 4.6 in Papua New Guinea, we have a 4.7 in Indonesia, we have a 4.6 in Philippines, we have a 4.4 in Taiwan. We have a 4.5 in Japan. We have a 4.5 in Afghanistan. Oh, down here in Argentina, we have a 4.3 in Chile, Argentina. So the USGS reports under 4 point whatever, right? Like, so it's not a worry that USGS doesn't report under 4.5 or something. So why are they omitting and not reporting the 4.6 to 4.8 that just hit an hour ago down here in Australia. Wouldn't they want their researchers and viewers and subscribers, the USGS now, don't you think they would want their people to know about a rare earthquake in Australia? Like, why wouldn't they? It's rare. It doesn't happen much. Australians are covering it. I already shared the information. You can follow the links to the Australian agency. Why doesn't the USGS have it? What are they going to do? Say it's a mistake again? Let me guess. It's a mistake. What if I go click on the link now and it says this earthquake's been deleted? Sorry, it's a mistake. No, it's still there. This is the Australian agency showing us the earthquake. Since I can't count on my own agency here in the States, who says that they cover this stuff, to actually cover it. Imagine it like this. If I deliberately took this earthquake off the screen and deliberately didn't tell you about it, even though I knew that it happened and that it was rare. Imagine if I did it. What would you call me? If I hid it from you and didn't report it to you. Right? Like, I take it off. I literally somehow go in here and delete. I can't delete any earthquakes off the feed. I can move the slider to show you current earthquakes and older earthquakes, but there's no way for me to get it off the feed. Or I could turn it up to 5.0 plus, and that would make it disappear. So I do that. There we go. I'm like, here's all the earthquakes that struck, guys. And you're like, Dutch, what about the quake down in Australia? I'm like, what quake in Australia? There's no quake in Australia. Dutch is a conspiracy. You're a conspiracy theorist. Right? It's odd. So I have to make a big deal about it because I've, again, now caught our agencies not reporting significant quakes. That being said, I have to use our agency to look at the quakes in the United States. It's getting to a point where I have to do it. I have to use their information, but dude, it just sucks because, come on, man, you know. It's like having to use a liar's stuff. I mean, you know, you could take it, you could probably trust it a little bit, but probably when there's an earthquake that's felt by people, you may be able to trust the information. I just being honest. Like, what do you want me to say? If they're not reporting quakes down in Australia, what do you think they're doing with the frickin' quakes in the United States, dude? Just be real. All right. Off the rails again. You get me going, man. Look, fighting for truth. Truth, justice. The seismic way. Wonder Twin powers unite. All right, let's go, guys. I'm dating myself by saying that one. Okay. I'm Mork from Ork, all right? Like, I'm old. Nanu. Let's start up in the Northeast United States. I got a special update for Daz. Somebody get this video over to Daz from Maine. Got an update. Take a look at the screen. See the arrow up in the Northeast? I made this graphic years ago. It's like 2011 when I first noticed the progression of earthquakes across North America. Now look at the arrow up in the Northeast. See where it points? Right? It points right up to Brunswick, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Maine. Okay. We just got a 2.4 up here off the coast of Nova Scotia. Here's Maine. Here's Nova Scotia. Now, the fires took place right down here at southeast Nova Scotia. There was a big outbreak of fires that took place. Now, right up here off the coast, up here a little bit to the northeast, we had the missing submarine. Look, it is what it is. We got an earthquake out there now. So at this point, I would like to go look it up. But before we go look it up, we have to figure out why it struck there. Let me take you back in time. 4 days. 4 days, and what you will see is that the same sized earthquakes went all the way across North America, including South Missouri, over here at the Tennessee border. And what do South Missouri, the Tennessee border, Colorado... Let me turn down the ring so you can see this a little bit. Here's the last 5 days of quakes coming from the northwest, and the color coding is how old they are. The size of the ring is the size of the quakes. They're all mid-range 2s and a 3 all the way across the plate up to the northeast. Turn the magnitudes back on so you can see it. Now, check it out. It's a perfect match. So the flow, the wave, went down through Texas, down and hit the pumping operations in southern Colorado, then hit the pumping operations in Texas, then went up into the New Madrid, then went over to the East Coast, and now it's on the far northeast. Literally progressing across the plate in the course of 5 days. So that's where this 2.4 came from. All right, so the wave equals, it's a 2.5 wave going across the plate right now, if you want to think of it like that. That being said, I'll turn the Craton graphic off. Let's go get the coordinates and go see what's at the location. There may be something right next to it. I don't know. Lunenburg, Canada. Oh, Canada. Come on. Hey? Yeah, you hoser. I'm getting my Molsons in. Get my Molsons. Canadians go into protect mode, you start going off them. I realize that they don't, when you make fun of Brits, they love it. They love it. I'm making fun of Brits left and right. I'm like, dude, you damn Bravehearts are freaking crazy. They're like, oh, good one, Dutch. I'm like, start making fun of the French. They go crazy. I'm like, guys, I'm from the United States, man. Come on. It's not like I have some platform to go off on you on. We're on an equal level here. Actually, you're probably a little bit higher, which makes me easier to see up your freaking noses. Anyway, here we are. We're at southeast Nova Scotia, and it's right by the fires. The fires were right down here, so we had massive fires right next to it. Now, out off the coast, there's a few things. Hashtag Ancient Tartaria. If I showed you what's really here, you wouldn't believe me. Do you want to see what's really here? Do you want to see why the Titanic sunk right out here and why they got a bunch of subs really out here? Do you want to know the real truth? I'll tell you the truth about an ancient map that shouldn't be shown. Oh, wait, I shouldn't talk about that. Here's the United States, turned at a certain angle. Okay, now, looking at the United States, you might think it might be paradelia or pardolia, how do you say it? Or you might think you might see a shape of some kind of triangular shape here of some kind, maybe. But then when you zoom up here and you see that we've got this off one side and this side off the other has been blown out. Here is Newfoundland. Here's Nova Scotia. Let's go down a little further and see. Oh, wait, look at that. Look at this. Florida goes off one side and Nunavut goes off the other. Just like these two fractal-like spikes going off the tip of this giant triangular shape. And look, Mexico goes out on one side and Alaska goes out on the other, and they both even make a bend over in each direction, out and away from this giant triangular structure. And just to seal the deal that something weird's going on, right down here at the outer pinnacle tip of it is the mysterious Star Fort that was built out in the Florida Keys, supposedly to protect us from ships in the Civil War. Yeah, right, okay, now wait a second. You might think that I'm just tripping. Just seeing a shape here, and that doesn't mean anything, and that the Titanic's sinking out there and all the subs out there would just be no big deal either. But what would you do if I told you that there's a bigger one, and that it makes up all of China and Russia, and Europe, and here it is. Here is India. Here is Russia, and it does the same thing that North America's doing, only smaller, or only bigger. North America's smaller. You got Florida and Nunavut. You've got these 2 points off that side. Then you get, I'm not kidding, this is really the plates, guys. These are really the plates. So here's India and Russia. And then here's Saudi Arabia. And look, submerged out in the North Pole, out at the Arctic North, it matches. Wow. It's an exact match on either side. Boom and boom. Wait a second, does it do it again? Sure does. Does it again with Italy and UK. And then check out Spain and Portugal. I see a certain shape here, but I just can't make it out. Don't know exactly what we're talking about there. Oh, wait a minute, that's a match of North America? With its, wow. With the two spikes coming out the top and everything. Wow. Hey, look, all of Spain and Portugal is a giant bastion fort made of mountains somehow by ancient humans who had the ability to raise mountains. Oh, no, wait. It's just chance and coincidence. That's it. Never mind. Never mind. I'm tripping. I'm just seeing shapes. Never mind the earthquake out at the tip, or the subs, or any of it. Never mind. Let's go out and go on the West Coast. Let's get out of this weird, bizarro world. Twilight Zone meets X-Files. The Twilight Files. Somebody needs to make that. I'll be the star. Okay, let's go and look on the West Coast. See what's happening. Is that a little too intense for you? I get a little too fired up for you? I have ancient Tartaria tattooed in Old English across my chest. And as a tramp stamp at the back of my lower back. Enter the center of the earth. Arrow points down. Okay. Let's go up into Washington State and go take a look and see where these earthquakes are striking. Because where the earthquakes strike matter in comparison to the areas, because there's certain things at the areas that are leading to the earthquake striking there. In other words, there's a reason there's an earthquake striking at several of these spots. It's not just random. But before I get into the earthquake striking here, I have to tell you about something that I personally have noticed that no one else has talked about, and I'm not trying to alarm anyone. So that's why I didn't get to this at the start of the broadcast. It's just something that I'm looking at that I just find bizarre. And I'll show you right now. We're going to the weather satellite. And what we need to do, let's see, is look at True Color, if I can click on it proper. There we go. And we're going to look at 200 images going back to yesterday. And here, this up here in the northwest. So up here in the northwest, you see all the clouds. Okay. Now, Yellowstone, just as a point of reference, I'm not saying, I'll get to Yellowstone in a second. But Yellowstone is right here at the border of Montana and Idaho. And just keep that as a point of reference for that area. Because what I've noticed the past several days is each day, clouds are flaring off around this, and not to the south, not to the southwest, and there's a definitive cutoff line. Not related to the weather. I can't figure out why it's doing this. But right through here where the fires are starting to take place, several fires broke out across Arizona, Southern California, Southern Colorado over the past several days. As a matter of fact, evacuations were issued yesterday for some fire in Southern California that broke out. I think they got it contained. Anyway, so the weather has been flaring off, and what I want you to look for, you can't see it now because it's too early in it's just starting now, but I predict, a prediction, not a forecast, a prediction. It's like the horse races. I predict that this will all flare off around this in a giant triangle where Yellowstone's magma chamber is at the center. Now you go to the north and you've got the fires, and the fires are insane. They are going next level again up to the north, and I don't want to get in trouble. Again, I'm not trying to, ruffle any feathers up in Canada. But here's last night in Canada. Check it out. Look at this. This is Quebec. Here's Ontario. You have fires over in Labrador and Newfoundland that you can't even see. They're going in there, though. And here's the smoke this morning. Now, yesterday we had red air warning, red code air warnings across the Midwest United States down here at St. Louis from the fires up here in Canada. And the fires in Canada are happening across the edge of the Craton. Now, look at this. Here's yesterday. Look at this. This is all smoke in here, in between these clouds. This is all smoke. All the white sheen. Look at that. And there's more being dumped in. Insanity, the amount of smoke going on there. So, down to the south, down in Mexico, when I saw that all fires broke out across here, going down across all of Mexico down to the Yucatan, at the same time that the fires are breaking out across, oh, by the way, check out Mexico. Look at the sheen there. Fires at the border, fires along all through the mountains. It's just so hard to see because of the cloud cover right there. But you can see the sheen from the smoke. And here we are today, and it somewhat clears out in the morning, of course, but throughout the day, you'll see it again. When I see all those fires going on both sides of the plate, I see the flare-off going on of what looks like some kind of heat source applied very deep down below the plate, and a steam off going up above. And there's some other weird stuff going on. You got to put it all together. What other weird stuff's going on? Well, the sulfur thing. In case you don't know, reports of major sulfur smells coming from Michigan, Indiana area over here. Major sulfuric smells. Same time sulfuric smells began getting reported there. All the way over here. North of this is like 1,500 miles to the west. Over here, north of Yellowstone, tar and sulfur showing up in Yellowstone River, 60 miles north of Yellowstone Park. And they blamed it on a train derailment. And they showed video of a train derailed in the river. And they said it's cars of sulfur and molten sulfur and molten tar that got spilled into the river or something. And so, sulfur over here. Oh, and the explanation at the Indiana-Michigan border region came out yesterday, and they said it was a refinery releasing some kind of gas due to extreme weather. Extreme weather led to the release of sulfuric smelling gases at the refinery over here. And over here, it's a train derailment. So don't worry about the sulfur. I don't know. Would they lie to us and try to keep something secret if something was brewing over here on the west? Now, I would not look at Yellowstone, actually. You know where I would look? I would look at the California-Nevada border at the unexpected spot. I would look at the spot that if there was going to be a big blast, and they were trying to keep a supervolcanic eruption secret, that it wouldn't be Yellowstone. That it would be, well, hold on, let me show you. See the purple part? The purple part of the deformed craton? Look at the northwest most arrow. It comes in from up at Vancouver Island out off the west coast and then goes down to the east by southeast. Sorry, the ding of the bell there. Goes down to the east by southeast right into Yellowstone. That's where I have the arrow pointing, right? Now look at the craton edge, the purple versus brown. Obviously, Yellowstone resides right where the purple meets the brown, right? Now, if you go over to the California-Nevada border, look at where the purple goes. It goes right into California and makes a point. You see that? Over on the side there. Okay, now I'm going to take you over. I'm going to turn off the craton graphic and show you on Google Earth what's there. Yellowstone's on one edge of the purple, and over here at the point is this. Long Valley Caldera, the other known supervolcano in the United States. 1,000 cubic kilometers of melt down below it. California-Nevada border, right where that purple point went to. So, supervolcano on one side of the deformed craton, supervolcano on the other. And this whole thing is doing some kind of weird steaming now. Or I wouldn't even call it steaming. It's actual precipitation. It's clouds. It's widespread cloud formation. You'd call it weather, but it's flaring off from down below somehow, from some kind of deep heat source, maybe? I don't know. You would think that it would cause the steam, quote unquote, up above to be hot, but it's coming out cold. The clouds that go up, it's not coming out as geysers. It's coming out as just regular precipitation, coming out like evaporating out of the ground kind of thing. I don't know. It's just something I noticed. Something I'm looking at. Something that matches the spots where the clouds are forming. Here, match the craton perfectly. The deformed edge, perfectly. It's not up for debate. Here, let me turn it back on one more time. You compare the clouds to the deformed craton. I mean, it's just, and then you go up into Canada and the fires are there. And you go down into Mexico and the fires are there on the Cretionary Belt. So the fires up to the north and the fires down to the south match those craton edges too. And in the northeast, up in Quebec. Oh, man. I hate having to talk about it because nobody else is willing to. Or has put enough time in to know about it to even be able to talk about it. So, getting back to the quake up in the Northeast, the quakes in the Northeast, the flow went across the plate. You could watch it come your way up in Maine, and it's like watching a flowing river coming your way. So if there's going to be a flood and it comes across the plate, you know to look for it in the Northeast after it hits on the West Coast. That gets me into the West Coast. What's hit? 2s and 3s. Take a look at it. Here's our 3s. Last day and a half, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. I don't trust the info, guys. I don't. I have to use the USGS, but I don't trust it. Just like I don't trust it with, like, when the weather gets cut and they cut the satellite or the radar feed. Okay, well, I mean, they're hiding weather modification when they do that. Okay, well, I don't trust it then. It's not that I don't trust that it's completely fake. I just think it's being manipulated. And this would be the seismic data being hidden or manipulated. So no 4s in weeks? A 4 out off the coast? I mean, it's getting odd. Same with the international reporting of quakes. Now, I know we're at basically World War III internationally, or almost there. So it wouldn't surprise me to find out that the seismic data probably goes through 20 sensors before it gets to the public. People were saying they thought that they couldn't fake the seismos. Oh, really? Why not? Why couldn't they pump in fake data to the seismo that then pumps it back out and earthquake info? Would that require a conspiracy? Oh, yeah, totally. And yeah, conspiracies happen all the time. They really do. Between thousands of people, the organized crime was able to keep murders secret by just killing other people who they knew. So, yeah, secrets can be kept all the time. They knock people off. They threaten them. They pay them off. It could be for serious things, too, like nuclear projects and secret bases being built. They really do that. And all the contractors keep it a secret. All the military keeps it a secret. I mean, eventually the Russians or whoever finds out. But, oh, yeah, no, they're able to build a missile silo right in the middle of a national park and keep it a secret. I think it's pretty much conspiracies can happen. Oh, yeah, there's missile silos in the middle of national parks. Did you know that? Not trying to give away any secret. It's not a secret. Everybody freaking knows that at this point. If you didn't, you're just ignorant. Okay, down here from the... No, I mean ignorant as in... That sounded rude. Ignorant as in you don't know you are ignorant, you don't know. Not ignorant like, y'all ignorant. I'm from Missouri. I've got to differentiate. There'll be a group of Missourians who think I'm referring to something else. Let me get a sip of my coffee. Oh, my God. Again, man, this train is tipping, man. We're going off the rails again. Let's start up here in the north part of the valley and spread out in a triangle shape over to the east. 2.7 up here on the north side of Manton, California. 8.8 kilometers deep. It's down in the plate, but it's down below something. I want you to see what it's down below. So now we're going to start getting into why the earthquake strikes certain spots. So when a wave is coming in, a seismic wave coming in from the Pacific plate, and it comes into North America, and it's absorbed into the plate, and it runs into this, for instance. I mean, you can see it. It's a place called Inskip Volcanic Buttes, Inskip Hill. Now you see there's power lines that they've put right across the center of this thing. This gets into very low frequency and coming up out of the plate, electrical energy. Power companies know about it. I think they capture it with the power lines. That's why they raise them certain height off the ground instead of burying them. The hidden secret of power generation is that it's captured by the wires that they put up all over the place. I think the generators are really just to replace the energy back into the plate so there's no loss. Like they stick more power back down in the ground at the base station where they're generating power, and then they just collect it all back out of the plate using the wires raised off the ground. Anyway, whatever. So the wave is coming in. It's a very low frequency electrical wave. Guess what else is a very low frequency electrical wave? The electricity going through the lines here. And electromagnetically, it goes down into the plate a little bit there. So, the power lines. When the wave comes across and it hits a drill point or a Mother Nature punch point like a volcano, and next to it you've got power lines projecting very low frequency down into the plate, where the two cross, you get what's called a scalar. And that's where you get action at a distance, where the two beams cross, if you will. And they're doing action at a distance experiments, scalar experiments, over at CERN. They're crossing microwave beams, high-power microwave beams. And in the middle where the beams cross, that's called the scalar. The scalar is where the action happens at a distance. Anyway, Mother Nature's action at a distance strikes with quakes. Let's go over to the east. Northern California. What a creative way to list this one. Now, there's something here nearby, and I think the USGS is listing it as Northern California because they don't want you to know what's nearby. I mean, if they told you what was nearby, you might start to ask questions. Like about the huge volcanic field on the north side of the lake, Lake Almanor here. You might start to, So it's just better to think about it as Northern California than Lake Almanor and Sifford Mountain, Swain Mountain, or Lassen Volcanic Center. Now, is there anything else down here? I wonder. I mean, I've never really looked down here to see if they have any kind of power generating facilities here or anything. I don't see why they wouldn't utilize this for some kind of power generation. Although it does look a little low. Look at that. Wow. Looking a little low there. Okay, all right, let's get back to not complaining. I don't live there. Let's go down to the east, southeast. Now, you see the rest of these earthquakes? They're huge stacks of earthquakes going up off the screen there. These are what we call earthquake swarms. And we are swarming between Lake Tahoe and Pyramid Lake. You see it? This is all in the last day and a half. All of this is swarming. There's something extremely significant at this location that I discovered that will make sense in about 2 seconds when I show you. Here's Lake Tahoe. Here's Pyramid Lake. Now, in the middle between Lake Tahoe and Pyramid Lake is this, and maybe I need to turn off everything so you can see it. This giant oval shape. You see that? Okay. Now I'm going to turn everything back on. Make sure that you've got all this on screen. So this oval shape is lined with volcanoes. On one side, it's got a basin, Lake Tahoe, deep. And another side, it's got another basin, deep, Pyramid Lake. And we also have geothermal fields on either side. Steamboat Springs on one side, and the Needles at Pyramid Lake on the other. Huge tufa deposits. Tufa. Calcium carbonate deposits. Hey, calcium carbonate, right? Mother Nature's GOP, right? Geopolymer. Anyway, yeah, Earth is spitting geopolymer up out of the ground there, and right next to it is a giant military bunker base. I wonder what's going on. Anyway, this is a supervolcano. But this supervolcano has not been discovered by professionals. I had to find this giant caldera. And the way I found it was earthquakes started striking around it. I didn't have the place marks, the volcano place marks. Earthquakes around this thing in an oval shape. Kind of like this. Going around it. Drew my eye to it. I downloaded the most recent place marks, and that then gave me the volcano names around there. And I said, wow, it's lined with volcanoes, and I see that there's geothermal fields on either side of it, 2 folded basins on either side of it, and it's huge. It's way bigger than the known supervolcano that I already showed you, that the Craton edge goes down to. The purple part goes right down to this one. This is 1,000 cubic kilometers of melt. Well, look at that. That's small in comparison to this one. So this is an ancient supervolcano that the professionals somehow missed. There it is. Earthquakes all around it. Guess what else happens around this thing? Fires. First, we see stuff like this, swarms of earthquakes, then followed by outbreaks of big fires. And I'm talking huge fires, like 10, 15, 20, 30, and 50,000 acre fires. It's happened over and over again. First the swarms, then the fires. And it doesn't matter what time of year it is. It could be pouring down rain outside, and if within a few days, all of a sudden, it's fires out the you-know-what around this thing. So now we have the earthquakes. I would watch there for fires. As we go down to the south, are you shocked to see that the rest of the earthquakes span from the supervolcano that I showed you called Long Valley over to the east and over to the west, out from it? Let me show you. What's over to the east-northeast, and what's to the west-southwest of Long Valley Caldera? Something else significant which I found. And I have to kind of tell you about what I found, and I know some people think I'm beating my chest about it, but who's going to tell you? It's not in any books, and nobody found it except for me in a frickin' video. So let me show you. Here's Long Valley Caldera, earthquakes. Right there in the middle, going over to the east-northeast and west-southwest. East-northeast, west-southwest. What's down here? Well, to the east-northeast, you can see it. Monte Cristo Hills. It's a cluster of volcanic buttes, like a ring of them. Goes around here. So I shouldn't need to really tell you about the volcanoes there. You can see them. But this thing I had to find on my own. See this? This place is called Coarse Gold, California. Fresno Crossing, Raymond, Yosemite Lakes. I'm going to turn off the names. This giant, bulging, circular feature here. This is what's known as a laccolith. A laccolith is a pocket in the plate that fills with magma and bulges, but doesn't normally erupt. And it either hardens off over time, or sometimes can even recede and sink and form up what looks like a crater. Now this one is next to another one right next to it. Right here, it's covered in trees. But you can see the folds and bends of the laccolith, the bulge, that goes up to the top to Shaver Lake. See that? Now this and this, we see these in other parts of the world. These are volcanic features. And look, here's the supervolcano. And we go right underneath the mountain range, and there is our bulging laccolith, about the same size as the supervolcano. So the feeder for the laccolith is the same feeder as for the supervolcano, and fires break out around this thing. Over and over and over again. Every year almost. Well, maybe not every year, but whenever there's a seismic push that comes in to the laccolith. Pretty wild, right? I had to find this myself. Earthquakes and fires striking around this thing, and then I saw it. I'm like, wow. Now, do you want to see examples of, let me show you an example all the way on the opposite side of the planet where these exist. Over in Iran on the plate boundary. Right here. So Shaver Lake, the one I showed you at Shaver Lake with all the ripples that are covered in trees, and it goes up to the top, and Shaver Lake's at the top. Here's over in Iran. This is a bulging laccolith that actually ruptured at some point in the past. Flowed out. Okay. And that's just one of them. They go all the way down here. Here's another one. Here's what happens when they collapse. They recede. This is a depression. And they're all over the place. Okay. Here in Iran. Let me show you a circular bulging one. Okay, these are not covered in trees. On the edge of the plate over in Iran. Now we're going to go back over to California. And we're going over on the edge of the plate. Over on the east side of the valley. And here's the circular one here. And Shaver Lake next to it. Just like over in Iran. Only it's covered in trees. So, earthquakes there. So, supervolcano, earthquakes all around it. Supervolcanoes, earthquakes all the way around it. And down here in South Nevada. Let's pull the earthquake in the middle. Indian Springs, Nevada. Copy and paste. Let's go search it out. One more time, guys. We're getting into why the earthquakes are striking at these spots. Why would you think an earthquake would strike at a supervolcano? Why do you think an earthquake would strike at another supervolcano up to the north? Why do you think an earthquake would strike out here at a nuclear test site if they're not doing nukes out here now at Doomtown and Operation Riseline location in Frenchman's Flat? Let me turn on all of our information. There's Doomtown information, Riseline. And here's all our nuke sites. Well, not all of them, but a whole bunch of them. U.S. nuke Operation Barbell S, 7 kilotons, October 16th, 1964. Just one random. And so, man-made faults also being struck. Well, a man-made fault is a crack in the plate caused by those underground nuke sites in this case. So what does that have in common with the supervolcano? Well, I would propose to you that cracks in the plate, whether they're from Mother Nature punching out from down below or humans punching in from up above, are going to act in similar ways as this wave is passing through the plate. So a wave is coming through, it's hitting 2 supervolcanoes and a nuke site as it's going over to the east, and we get over to the east, it's trying to make its way over to the east coast. The wave, it's trying to spread across the plate. I've already told you that like 10 times in this update. Spreading across the craton. What's over here in Utah? Let's go take a look. Well, let me turn off some of this stuff. How did a pale baby emoji get open? Was that some kind of ad? Pale baby emoji ad. What the hell is that? Is your baby pale? Dude. The world is so weird. Okay, where are we? We're over here in Utah. We're on the edge of a place called the Markagunt Plateau. But, what's this place? Cooper Knoll Volcano. Let's go take a look at Cooper Knoll. I don't know. Classify. Oh, okay. Wow, ancient tuftage. Ancient tuftage. Look at that. That's old. Calling this a volcano really isn't doing it justice. But right next to it are fresh eruptive locations. So here's what goes on with Markagunt Plateau. You have old volcanoes that are here, and every once in a while, this wave will pass through the area and break out and cause a lava flow to push up out of an old volcano. So Miller Knoll, here, the old volcano covered in trees. You can see it, and then you can see the spot where it broke open on the side and flowed out this newer lava flow. And you can see where it happened next to it. Look at that. This is in Utah. And look how high these are. Here's a road, and this is... Hold on. Let's see, what's our elevation? Okay. Yeah, these are like 200 and 300 feet high. So a 200 or 300 foot high lava flow. Imagine what that would look like going over the hilltops. Let's see if we have a street level on this. There might be one. Look at that. They pulled the Google car in to go take a look. Let's go see what it looks like. Yeah, look at this. Look at that. Imagine that. You guys remember what the Bardar Bunga of lava flow looked like? It was like 10 feet tall, and it was rolling glowing bricks of lava, basically. Well, this is 300 feet high. Just as a point of reference, look at that. And it's not that old in comparison to the old volcano it came out of. Right next to it, Miller Knoll. And you can see where it busted out. Now, why am I taking the time to tell you that? Well, a wave came through and hit that at some point in the past, not too long ago, a few hundred years, and flowed all that out, broke open. So, the standing wave that goes from supervolcano to nuke site to volcanic field must be paid attention to. The bigger the wave, the greater the likelihood of a volcanic eruption and or large earthquake to accompany the area. What's up to the north? Up here in North Utah. Well, Morgan, Utah is right next to another spot that I've been showing next to Magna, Utah. Morgan and Magna next to each other next to the bunkers for Thiokol Corporation. But this is over to the east, so we do have to go look it up. I'm not saying this one is. The ones I was showing previously are. The ones I was showing previously are over here. At the bunkers. Thiokol, ATK Orbital Systems. But now we're over to the east at Morgan. Look, they're right next to each other. I would say it's not related. It's more likely related to the Wasatch Fault going north all the way along the mountain range, going up further to the north beyond the state Idaho and so forth. And you see the earthquakes go up there, but on the north side, there's something. There is something up here, and they're suspiciously just listing it as Utah. You can just pretty much know that if they do that you might probably want to go look up the earthquake. Go see if there's anything there just in case. When they don't tell you a town it's triangulated from, it's usually because they're trying to hide something. I'm not kidding. You think I'm joking? Take a look. Right next to here. So, first of all, the only way I even know about this right up here on the north side is because a previous set of earthquakes struck up here on the north side. All of these are the other bunkers. See where it says places? ATK Rocket Garden. Come on. And it goes over to the west, too. They have a new testing range or some kind of new rocket garden that they built over to the west. But come on. We're literally right next to it. And these are all the deep bunkers for storing the rockets. Or whatever. I don't know how deep. But that's where we go. So, look. We can go next to the one over to the east. But when we get up right on the side of the place itself, again, keep that in mind. In light of Yellowstone moving, in light of the steaming going on, in light of the other earthquakes that I haven't even talked about yet. Up in Washington. Let's go pull the coordinates. I started talking about this and I got sidetracked. Up in Washington. There we go. All right, earthquake epicenter. Now, you're going to notice I have something here marked already. You see there's also Spiral Butte. Look at this one. Check out Spiral Butte there. But we are directly next to the hydroelectric power generation. Dam with hydroelectric going on in here. Now, why does that matter? Well, power generation, guys. This gets us into very low frequency, ultra low frequency again. Coming out from the power generation station. We've seen this so many times. Earthquakes striking next to power plants. And we're just a few miles away. I don't know if we have any power lines that go from there right through here. So let's just go take a look. What's this? An old concrete bridge out there in the back. Okay, whatever, that's it. Why would they document that? That's weird. Okay, enough poking around in here. Oh, wait, hold on. I just saw something. Autonom. A name popped up. The Autonom something. It's now not coming up. That's odd. There's these things called the Autonom ridge structures that are down here just to the south that were the focus of study in the USGS. Oh, there it is. Autonom. The Autonom ridge structure, or structures, these. And the USGS was looking into them, and they were trying to say something about them being related to ancient volcanism with Yellowstone, and that the past blast calderas apparently reached up into Washington and Oregon. That was the studies that I read. That was several years ago on the Autonom ridge structures. Wow. Let's go up to Enchiat. How do you say it, guys? No, don't. My comment section will fill up with people trying to tell me how to say it. Don't waste your time on mine. Or the electronics. Or the electricity or whatever. Just don't waste your time. What's going on out here? Looks like a lot of plowing going on that field there. Usually when we got plowing going on out there, something worth plowing. Other than farms. You know what I mean? You see a hilltop done like that? You might want to look around and see if there's something worth looking into. So, what's around the area? Well, unfortunately, see where it says high voltage power lines? They go back down to this hydroelectric generation station again. There it is. The Rocky Reach Dam. Waterville and the others Now, I would also look around the area and just go inspect, see if you find anything worth mentioning. Again, when you start doing that level, you maybe need to look around the area for maybe something else that might be here. You might need to orient your map in a different direction, like what I did earlier, showing you the United States and Asia. Is your mind sufficiently blown yet? Because we're not done. We still have to go and look up all the earthquakes along the California-Nevada border and look along down here to the south along the California coast. Up here, big stack of quakes. Geysers of California. That name alone should tell you what's there. A volcano. Geothermal drill points. There's a volcano there. It's called Clear Lake, Mount Konocti. Not going to even waste time showing it to you. We've been going on long enough. Volcano there. Once we get down here into the Bay Area, though, I do have to go look it up. We're at Santa Venetia. Okay. Oh, wait, never mind. It's quarry blast, guys. No biggie. No biggie. Quarry blast. Nothing to pay attention to. Let's move on. Let's go look up this one. Because we have a 2.1 right next to it around the same time. But it's at 4.6 kilometer depth, so we can rule out a quarry blast. I'm going to go look up that quarry, too, see what's there. Why are they quarrying right along the coast like that when you could go interior? It'd be a lot easier. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Dude. Dude, not again. No. No! First of all, huge power. Substation, but still, huge, huge power. See where it says Invictus Academy? Let me show you something. All right, kids. Your mind's about to be blown. Now, I already showed you the Star Fort shape. Star Fort, S-T-A-R-F-O-R-T, which is called a bastion fort. Now, we have to go back several months. A 5.0 range earthquake struck directly down below this. See this square-like shape or diamond-like shape here? Directly below the middle of it, an earthquake struck. I zoomed in on it, and I saw this. Satellite array at the center, and a circular roundabout here that didn't make sense. But then I saw this, and I saw that it's a recycling center. A circular recycling center with solar panels all around it, and a circular shaped layer of dishes down at the center of this. I was like, what is going on here? But then I turned this down at a perfect looking down because I noticed that Google, when I looked up the location, did that it angled it for some reason, even though I didn't mean to. Like, I didn't have it angled it when I zoomed in. And then I saw it, that this here is a 300-foot high ancient bastion fort. The earthquake struck down below the middle of it. It's indisputable that it's in that shape. At least three sides of it. One side looks like it's been dug out or torn out, and they put a recycling center down in the middle of it along with a satellite array to amplify it up out of the center of it. And it's not up for debate, guys. 5.0 earthquake struck down below this thing. And it's got three sides of it still on it. They turned one side into a little subdivision. This is huge. This is 300 feet high and made of massive mounds of rock. You would say that this has never been made by humans, but I would say it is. It has to have been. It's in a symmetrical shape, in the shape of an ancient bastion fort, and somebody built a satellite array right in the middle of it, and it keeps getting hit with earthquakes. They also have the big power center next to it to extract the power. Now, in case you don't believe that they extract power from these megalithic sites, let me show you one over here in St. Louis called the Great Cahokia Mounds. We have the St. Louis Arch here in St. Louis, but right across the river over here, we have Cahokia Mounds State Historic Site, where we have the biggest mounds in North America that are in the pyramidal shape as well. And, well, I'll be darned, look, in the star shape. And they decided to build railroad tracks and huge sets of power lines that go through and across the Cahokia Mounds and go right down here to the Mississippi River, where they take all the power lines along the Mississippi River right in front of the arch. Gateway Arch. Gateway Arch, a giant
arch, but built by Cyril White, the famous weather modification researcher and very low frequency researcher, who built the arch and said it was really a ring that goes all the way around down into the ground and comes back out and goes 600 feet up in the sky. So, what's going on with the electrical generation right next to the Star Fort ancient mound locations? What's up with the quake there up in the North Bay area and everyone being told nothing? You guys were never told there's an ancient Star Fort there and that they built a bunch of houses on top of it. Bastion Fort, needing to be preserved and looked into and excavated. Let's go in a diagonal line down across the San Andreas Fault. This, surely I don't need to look up any earthquakes along the San Andreas. Do I? We all know what the San Andreas is. You've heard of it before. Let me show it to you physically in the plate, in case you don't know about it. San Andreas Fault goes from up here where our Star Fort is, and goes right down to here where the earthquakes kind of putter out. Right down to this 1.0 at Parkfield. So from the Star Fort up here, down to Parkfield down here, then we jump over into the valley. Instead of carrying on down the San Andreas, we jump over in the valley, and then the south side of the valley lights up with quakes. What's over in the valley and down at the south side of the valley? Let's get the coordinates. Huron, California. Okay. Huron we go. What's there? There's something here. It's like a volcano and like a nuke test site. It's an oil pumping operation. So how is that like a volcano or a nuke test site? How about drill points in the ground? Perforations in the crust. Whether there are hundreds of them from oil wells, or hundreds of them from human detonations of nukes, or hundreds of them from Mother Nature punching up from down below with volcanoes, still a weak point in the plate. That the wave, when it's coming down, seeks out a path of least resistance to the weakest point. So instead of going down the San Andreas, it jumps off to the drill points. And then it picks back up down at the south tip of the valley where the drill points are. Down here. Here, let me show you. Down here, all across the south tip of the valley, are a bunch more drill points, oil and gas. So we go down the San Andreas, jump off to the drill points, go down to the drill points, pick back up down here at the Mojave Desert and the Garlock Fault. And the biggest stack is, survey says, oh, I just dated myself again on that, didn't I? Cyril's Valley. But there's something at Cyril's Valley. A U.S. government and private industry experimental technology and aircraft research location. Also a rocket test range. And when I say a rocket test range, here is one of the buildings they would put the rockets in. And here is one where they've done blasts of rockets out, and you can see where it shoots out and blows away the sand. So we're right in the middle of a giant test range, but we're down below it. And what's down below it? Well, there was talk there was a giant base that got blown up a few years ago. Giant underground military base. DUMB, a deep underground military base. A dumb. They call them dumbs for a reason. A fixed fortification is like a monument to failure. Let's go down across the Garlock Fault and then go down to the east-southeast. So we go from the experimental facility. We go across the drill points in the south part of the valley, and we have a bunch of quarry blasts out here in Mojave. We could skip over the quarry blast, go down to North LA, Granada Hills, Granada, tomato. Let's go. You say Grenada, I say Granada. Oh, golf course. Blaine lives here in his Beamer and driving to freaking Yuppieville and it's Grenada Dutch. He's got it wearing an ascot and a smoking jacket. No, the guy's wearing a V-neck tennis sweatshirt or something. What's this?
The LAAFP. I would think it has something to do with water, but I don't know. Corporate offices. All right. I don't know. It's a giant reservoir of some kind. Now, is there something else here? Yes. Do you see this? Giant quarry. Is it listed as a quarry blast? So help me God, if it's listed as a quarry blast, it's 13.8 kilometers deep. It better not be listed as a quarry blast. So it's deep down below the reservoir, deep down below this giant quarry. Now, wait a second. There's the earthquake epicenter, and there's something else that's marked right here. It's a giant reservoir, but what is this? See this? This place is called Aliso Canyon. See where it says fracking oil drilling operation? It's also a gas sequestration location. They have caverns down in here and drill points where they actually store gas. I know, right? Okay, so they got drill points and we have storage points for gas. Aliso Canyon blew open a few years ago and released a bunch of toxic gas. They had to evacuate something like 100,000 people from around here. People got instant nosebleeds as soon as the gas touched their nose membranes. Some kind of caustic stored gas released from here. Aliso Canyon. Now, anybody remember what happened the weeks leading up to Aliso Canyon blowing up? Earthquakes. Earthquakes came across this area coming from the west at the oil pumping operation. See where it says oil wells? The actual oil pumping operation started to experience earthquakes first. They crept in a line going across this whole area from over here at Ventura and all the way over to here. I made videos on it showing it, and a professional named Dr. Lucy something showed up. And Dr. Lucy said that the earthquakes could not be related to the oil pumping operations. And her evidence for that was saying that the drill points don't go down as far as the earthquakes were. And I had to explain to the professionals how it's a meet me halfway across the sky kind of thing. And this wave is coming from down below, and we just put a little bit of perforation in the tip or the top of the slab, and that's enough to induce breaking between the perforation and the wave. It's a fundamental principle of fracturing stone, actually, is if you want to fracture stone, you can just perforate the edge, the top, and then apply force to the side, and you get a shearing motion that takes place from the perforation downwards or over to the edge where you're pushing from. It's a fundamental principle of breaking stone apart. But anyway, as they're denying that, they're denying the relation between the quakes, then like a week and a half or 2 weeks later or something, Aliso Canyon blows here, right next to where all the earthquakes were coming across. And 100,000 people or more evacuated and instant nosebleeds, and Dr. Lucy looking like a complete you-know-what. Also around that time, down here to the south, in South LA, we got some other weird activity that was taking place that was happening next to some gold drill points over here. But that was separate. Okay. Oh, wow. I got sidetracked again going off on Dr. Lucy. But come on, man. Like, they denied it. People got injured. If people would have paid attention, maybe they could have drawn down pressure at the wells or something. At least maybe had people ready to go. Earthquakes are creeping over towards our gas op. Just keep an eye on it, and everybody just watch out. They could have at least had emergency managers prepared. Now, once we get over to southeast LA, we do pick back up on fault zones. We don't have many drill points. We don't have many mining operations. It's solely along the San Jacinto and Elsinore faults. But when I get an earthquake in next to the NEXRAD radar station up here at the top of the hill, the NEXRAD radar is a extremely high power microwave, 750,000 watts projected out from this sucker, and it goes out in all directions as it rotates.
getting an earthquake next to it. I pay attention because electron cascade. Microwaves, when they go out across the atmosphere, can be like scuffing your feet across the carpet. And you know what happens when you scuff your feet across a carpet. If the right conditions are there, you can pick up free electrons and store them in your body and shock something or yourself as you go touch it and discharge that energy out of what you stored up in your body, like a battery or a capacitor. Well, the same thing can be said for up in the atmosphere. When high-power microwaves scuff their feet across the carpet of the atmosphere, a charge can build at a certain altitude, up above, and can go down to ground within several miles of the radar. We've seen it happen many, many times. Not just here. Over in St. Louis, Missouri, here around my area, we've had this happen. So, weird, right? Glad I went and looked up the new cluster that just struck next to the NEXRAD. Now, I would like to go see on the NEXRAD if there's anything going on out in California on the radar that we might not get, I don't know, on the seismic feed. Now, this is a cone of silence. They will stop this from projecting out down to the southeast. Right? Mountain Peak, or whatever excuse you want to use. But let's go and see if the radar shows anything for today. Oh, wow, my internet just crashed. This should load very quickly, yeah. Let me close everything and just make sure we're not getting interference from the USGS site. Wouldn't that be weird? Oh, wow, look. What, are they pulling data resources from my freaking PC on the USGS site? What the hell? Are you serious? How could the USGS... Look, it just stopped. Bravo. Just stop. I lose internet fully. No, I still have a connection. It got blocked. Let's go check another radar and just see. Maybe it's... Wow, look at the severe weather in the Midwest United States. No, I've been blocked. Look. Wow. Wow. All right, well, I was going to go check the radar to see if it showed anything weird. But now that the internet's cut, or throttled, or whatever you want to call it, perfect time for me to sign off. Perfect time to get the hell out of here. You guys, do you have an earthquake plan? I'm not issuing a forecast in this update except for what I talked about at the start of the update. But I will tell you, we're going to go back up. We're going to go back up to 6s to 6.8, I think, in the next several days. And I already named the locations at the start of this update. Did I talk about Europe? No. Dang it. All right, we can't quit yet. We still got a lot to cover. Europe. Stacks of earthquakes going across Turkey. Well, Turkey's about to get hit again. About to get smacked around. Turkey's going to get smacked around in between all these current sets of earthquakes. And it should go up by about a magnitude. So we should go up into the mid-range 5 level, maybe upper 5. Probably about a magnitude larger. 5.8. Near 6.0 level activity. Anything above 5, I would have to actually tell the people in Turkey to watch. Watch where the two sets of rings overlap. That's the Turkey-Iran border going south to the border with Syria. Hold on. I think an earthquake just hit. It did. Dude. All right, well, the start of this update about an hour ago, I told you guys to watch here for a flow to come across. Deep earthquake here. Watch over at Afghanistan. Well, Afghanistan just got hit, or South Tajikistan. Hold on, let's just find out. The Australians are reporting this. Dude, the Australians. Mates. I'm on my way, man. Oh, wait, you're going to pass a law to outlaw me. Okay, never mind, I'm not. But guys, look, a new 5 has been reported here. Does the USGS have this quake? Well, let's go check it out. Oh, you can see my links. I don't care. Yeah, go check out the Seed Bazaar. Multiverse Beans. Go check them out. Let's go check the USGS site. Got it? Do they have it? They got it. No, they don't have it. They don't have it. There's a new 5 that just hit today on the 29th. USGS has something from the 28th. Okay. So that's 2 now. Hey, does the USGS have that Australian quake up now? Do they? Because I was really bitching about that. Let's go see. No. No. They still don't have it. Let's hit refresh again just to give them benefit of the doubt. Yeah. No. They don't got it. So if you're paying attention and you use the USGS site to look up earthquakes, you're missing information. And if you have any research or studies that you've done based upon the number of earthquakes, like you use the USGS site to go look up quakes to see how many struck in a certain area or whatever, you're operating with bad info. If you have any conclusions that you've come to based upon the USGS listing of quakes, like you go look up a region and try to figure out what's hitting there and not, you are making incorrect decisions and making incorrect studies based upon incorrect or woefully lacking information. In other words, you're spreading disinformation if you're doing research based upon the quakes that are reported on the USGS site. You literally are ignorant of the quakes. You don't know if you're using the USGS info. You just don't know. So can I blame you for being ignorant to me when you're ignorant on the seismic information? Well, it depends on what you mean about ignorant. Oh, you don't see this? Oh, yeah, okay, here. Hold on. There we go. Nothing. USGS site, nada. Zero. Zilch. And this is the earthquake from yesterday on the USGS site. See, it says 628. But we go over to Earthquakes Australia, and it says the 29th, we've got different. Another 5 is hit, and the USGS is omitting this 5. So not only are they omitting the 4.6 to 4.8 down in Australia, they are omitting the 5 up here at Tajikistan that just hit, even though they got one from there yesterday. So like I said, if you're using the USGS site here, you are, or their information only, you just use the USGS, you're ignorant. You literally don't know. And I'm not going off on you like as in saying you are an ignorant person. I'm just saying you don't know. So if you don't know, you maybe are woefully ignorant. Man, you need to have an earthquake plan. Can I get an amen to that? How about just an emergency plan in general? You know, just you leave the earthquakes out of it and just have an emergency kit. Make sure you know what to do when an emergency happens. Usually it's taking shelter underneath a table or a desk if it's an earthquake. If it's a severe weather situation, you'll be taking shelter inside of your lowest and most interior point of structure. If it's a fire, you'll be evacuating. If it's a flood, you'll be evacuating. So you need to have an emergency kit that has change clothes, set of shoes, flashlight, batteries, first aid kit in case something happens in the middle of the night or you get injured. Sanitation, man, you need to have it. Be able to clean yourself up. I always see dusty people and people who are always looking dirty. They're always looking dirty in a disaster because they don't have any way to clean themselves. So have that in your emergency kit. Food and water, you're supposed to have that crap anyways. So, I mean, I don't know, get on it. You're like, I can't afford it. I don't know, go to the pawn shop. I speak from experience. Get rid of all your crap while you still can get money for it. For crying out loud, what are you doing sitting on top of a bunch of shit in your house? You kidding me? This day and age, you're sitting on top of stuff? Everything becomes worthless. You're going to look around and be like, dude, I should have freaking cashed in and got what I needed when I did, man. Why am I sitting on top of this silverware, you know? It's like, oh, nobody will buy it. The pawn shop will buy it. Pennies on the dollar. Pennies are better than nothing. Before, nothing's better than nothing. Oh, nothing's going to happen, right? Sure. Famous last words. Whatever happened to that guy that said nothing was going to happen? I don't know. I haven't seen him in a while. They can't modify the weather. That's a conspiracy theory. Whatever happened to those people? I found the NOAA weather site. Literally, it says electromagnetic modification of the weather is an option that has to be reported by private companies that want to manipulate the weather. They have to report it to the government. Meanwhile, everybody was denying that weather could be modified. I mean, this is the world that we live in. It's a world of deniers, but they'll be the first people knocking at your door. Got some extra sugar? Can you spare anything? That'll be them. And they'll have a gun behind their belt. You say no, they're like, those people. You know, the people who don't prepare. The people who raid and take over Walmart after a disaster happens because they don't have shit at their house. My plan is to raid Walmart. Yeah, you and every other moron. You'll be fighting over a loaf of bread with some freaking person with an arm, that's better armed than you. Good one. You could have just bought it for pennies on the dollar with all that crap that you have laying around your house, sold on Facebook Marketplace or at a pawn shop. I don't know. I tell my viewers to be prepared and they won't listen. All right. Anyway. Not trying to get all whiny on you, but I just did again. 1:10 p.m. Central Time on the 29th of June. This update was just a magnum opus. Everything from star forts and shaped plates like pyramids all the way to earthquakes and nuke sites. And I even did an update for dads. He said, you might need to, by the time you're done watching one of my updates, you might need to have a smoke. I'm not encouraging people to smoke. I'm just saying it's a little stressful. I'm sweating right now. Whew. Oh, wait, it's hot outside. It's 102 degrees. And never mind all that weird weather. Got this covered. There's no such thing as weather modification. You guys have a nice day. Much love. Don't worry about the fires. Happens every year.